So before we get underway here, I want to let you know that I am showing you God of War Ascension demo gameplay. I know that people are going to be very tempted to accuse me of being an Xbox Microsoft fanboy because I'm talking about the Xbox 720, but that is not the case. I love both these guys. I eagerly await both new systems. I have no secretive bias or preference one over the other, and while I know this may seem like we're mixing streams, we're going to talk about Xbox while you watch one of Sony's most coveted exclusive franchise. Actually, I really am looking forward to God of War Ascension. The demo is super fun. I loved God of War 3, and frankly, I cannot wait to play another one. It's been a good chunk of time, and I'm excited. Anyways, down to important business, which is what the heck is the Xbox 720, the Nextbox, the Durango, the whatever it ends up being called, going to be like? What do I think they are going to come out swinging with at either E3 or a prior event? Now, it is my opinion that they will be showcasing and revealing the Xbox before E3. I think they'll have an event similar to Sony. I think they will show the hardware, though, and then save a lot of big game announcements for E3. But in terms of what that hardware is, let me give you some of my thoughts. And this is based on things that I've read, things that I've heard, and then my own conjectures based on years of game experience and sort of in-depth following of the gaming industry and playing games and reading websites and magazines and listening to tons of podcasts. These are my personal guesses, my personal opinions. It doesn't mean that they're the truth, but take it for what you will. So the next Xbox, whatever it's called, well, just for the sake of this conversation, we'll call it the 720 because it rolls off the tongue. The 720 will be less powerful than the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3 will be a more expensive system to manufacture, and it will have more guts in it. I think that's all but fact. I don't think anyone can really argue with that at this point. It was a similar case with the PlayStation 3, and it once again will be a similar case with the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 will be a more powerful console, but that does not mean that it will have much superior graphics, much superior games in any way, shape, or form, because as you saw from this generation, that was not the case. In certain specific exclusive instances, yes. In most others, no. I think that Microsoft will use the saved money to, one, lower the price of the launch 720 units, as well as probably throw some money at some third parties for timed exclusives. Everything I've heard is that exclusives are killers for third parties. Obviously Sony and Microsoft will make their own exclusives. They're not all of a sudden going to go to put it on the other console. But in terms of, Dead Space is only on Xbox, or Mass Effect is only on Xbox, that's not going to happen much anymore. I think that you'll see timed exclusives. I think you'll see exclusive DLC. I think you'll see exclusive pre-order bonuses. But I think that the exclusive from third parties will all but vanish this generation. That is what I'm hearing, and it makes the most sense in order to profit the most. These games continue to cost more and more to make. A new generation includes tons of additional expenses, and it only makes sense that they would limit, or rather, that they would not limit, their exposure, their market, and go mostly multi-platform. The interesting thing to see will be how long do they go PS3 and PS4, 360 and 720? That trend I'm a little bit worried about, because then all of a sudden you get into this notion of games like, what are they really being developed for? What are they really being developed on? Are they just spruced up 360 games that can be ported to both? Are they just 360 games with added graphics? Are they really 720 games that are going to be scaled down for the 360? I don't know. But back to the Xbox 720, I think it's going to have a incredibly heavy focus on Connect and Casual, whether I like that or not. I don't like it. I don't think that Microsoft will really be able to wow me with Connect. I don't think that there are enough hardcore, legitimate uses for that thing. I know it's going to be a stronger piece of hardware than the Connect 1.0. This Connect 2.0 will probably be able to track more body parts, more people, and have much stronger vocal recognition. Now, I rarely, if ever, used my Kinect. I thought it was very cool the first week, and after that, I was pretty much sick of it. I have no problem picking up my controller and pressing A. I don't need to say Xbox, Netflix or whatever. I can press a button, and to me, the sporadic nature and the just overall uselessness of that Kinect makes me not even want to plug it in. Of course, the 720 will have a built-in Kinect. People have said, will there be a SKU that doesn't have the Kinect built in? I don't think so. I think every version of the system will have Kinect built in, because I think it's going to be integral to their interface and to what they're trying to sell you, which is they're going to go full-out entertainment box that takes over your living room. Sony tried to say, we're going more hardcore, and not only was that Sony's focus, but also you have to imagine that is in direct response to Microsoft and what Microsoft plans to do with their system. So when Sony says, hey, we're going to be the hardcore gaming box, you know that that's pretty much going to be followed up with Microsoft saying we are the everything box. So expect lots of partnerships, heavy emphasis on social networking, on Netflix, on YouTube. I wouldn't even be surprised to see a TV/cable partner in there. I don't know if that's something that happens at launch or if that's something that happens later down the road, but Microsoft definitely, in my opinion, is going to go the route of we will take over your living room and all the implications of that. Xbox Live is probably their strongest feature set right now. It's probably the thing that they most likely will emphasize, and try to tout that we have a network that is second to none, and build that up in the same way that Sony is trying to emphasize sharing. I think Microsoft will have some sort of sharing, and I think the focus will be less on, hey, record some gameplay and post it on your profile, and more Facebook-esque, more social network. I think they will have sharing, but I think the focus will be even more on like, hey, build a community on Xbox. You can schedule a game, blah, blah, blah. They'll have a lot of overlapping features between the two online services, but Xbox is definitely going to come out and tout the fact that Xbox Live is second to none. I think that XBLA games will transfer over. I think it's a less likely thing that there's backwards compatibility. PlayStation 4 does not have transferability, and at the current moment does not have any backwards compatibility. If you read between the lines of that conference, anything to do with Gaikai, which is the service that they hope to eventually be able to, stream PlayStation 3 games or whatnot onto the PS4, that is not working right now. That is not in place, and 95% will not be 98% will not be at launch. That thing is not ready. They have not figured it out. This is not just a Sony problem. This is whether it's, what's that thing called? OnLive. None of these services have ever figured out how to do this perfectly without lag, without issue. And console gamers are not going to want to deal with that. So I think that you have to be very careful when you hear what Sony or Microsoft say in terms of this is going to be what we hope, and this is what's really in the box come launch day. You go back and look at the history of console announcements and things that they initially said, promised, sometimes panned out, sometimes did not. So a very heavy focus on online. They will be charging for online again. I definitely think they, for better or worse, are going to rely a lot on their franchises. I would hope that they would bring new IP out for the start of a generation. We had so many great ones: Dead Space, Mass Effect, Gears of War, things that originated on this platform. But I'm afraid that they're going to lean very heavily on their properties. Sony right now is using Killzone as kind of their showpiece. I'm interested to see what Microsoft chooses. Halo seems like a reach because we just had one, but I don't know what else they would be. I really feel that the controller, again, is going to be similar. I think they will make it different slightly. There was talk before that, maybe Microsoft would just let you use 360 controllers on the 720, but accessories are a great way to rake in some cash if you are a console manufacturer. They'll probably lose money on the actual console. They make a bunch on software, and they make a bunch on accessories. So expect a slightly new controller a la the PlayStation 4 controller. Offset sticks, same face buttons. I don't think they're going to have touch on the controller. I don't think they're going to have motion built into the controller. Their thing is that we use our bodies for motion, so there's no need to put anything extra into the controller. And again, Microsoft, I think, will use their cheaper system to an economical advantage, and again, use that money elsewhere to spread more units, to market more, to pay more money out for third-party exclusives in terms of DLC and such. So I think you're going to be looking at form factor, a very similar console to 360. Now, the question is, will it be black-based or white-based to start? Will they come out like the original Xbox and go black, come out like the 360 and go white? What is the current trend? And I don't really know. I don't think it matters so much. I would love to see them do something crazy or have multiple colors. That seems unlikely, just based on past things. The Wii was always white at the start, the 360 was always white, the PS3 was always black, and I think just based on production constraints and such, you will see a single color system released. So heavy emphasis on social to match Sony, but I think they're really going to push that casual aspect of, hey, your family can play it with you, and everybody, even your grandma and your mom and your dog can get in on Connect. They're going to go crazy with that. They're going to try to really, I think, usurp Nintendo as the living room contender for all families, whereas the Wii sort of took that slot, at least the first couple of years of this past generation. The Wii U is already kind of flopping, and I don't think they have the same magic or grab that the Wii has, so the Wii U will not be that system. It'll either be the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox 720, my best guess. So I think Microsoft is going to aggressively push casual and social, and also, again, probably use their franchises to retain the hardcore. I'm interested to see what they do to please the hardcore, because again, their graphics will be good, but I don't think they can match Sony in terms of how far you can push it. Now, right away, you're going to see similar looking things, but 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you might notice some decent gap. But again, the problem becomes when they're developing multi-platform games, they're not going to exclusively focus on Sony and ignore Microsoft. And again, that's where even if Sony has a more powerful system, just like this generation, it doesn't really equate to much, and in some instances will equate to worse performance. I think that I can't see it any other way than Microsoft coming out and being the console of developers' choice, just based on history. Sony is saying, oh, we've really tried to make this a brand new thing and really integrated with the development community to make it as good as possible. My best guess is that Microsoft will still be the platform of choice. I don't see that changing. I would love it if it was identical across the board, but I can't see it all of a sudden being like, oh, they developed for the PlayStation 4 and now the Xbox Ones have issue. I think either Microsoft will take a lead or they will be equal. And that's not fanboying. That's not anything. That's just a best guess based on history, based on technology. I don't think there will be a red ring of death syndrome. I think Microsoft is probably doing everything that they can in their power and more to ensure that there is little to no failure of these units. In terms of launch games, I don't really know. Everybody kind of predicted Killzone for Sony, but what do you predict for Xbox 720? Gears of War comes out this month. I don't think we're going to see a new one at launch. Halo, it would be quite the rush if they bumped Halo 5 out there. Maybe there's a side story, I don't know, but you have to imagine that they're trying to figure out what is going to be our tentpole release to grab people, like the center of the universe release. You imagine Sony is going to push Killzone Shadowfall to hell and back. It's visually amazing. It's a sequel to a popular franchise. It's a shooter. What is Microsoft going to push? And again, an interesting thing is I think that the Xbox will release a good month or two before the PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4. I'm assuming Sony's targeting late November. They have more work to do production-wise based on the extra RAM, all the stuff inside. So I think Microsoft will once again gain the advantage. And then you run into another crazy quandary, which is a game like Assassin's Creed 4, which is rumored to release on October 29th. Will that come out on 720 first, and then a month later on PlayStation 4? Will it be a time delay to release again, Microsoft is going to have a huge advantage if you can play these very big holiday releases first on the 720, even if they're available on PlayStation 3, even if they're available on 360. The fact that I can buy a new system and play Assassin's Creed 4 is going to be a huge, huge advantage for Microsoft. And again, that is not biased. That's just straight up facts. If there's a game I really want to play, and I can either buy the 720 now for cheaper or wait a month or two and pay more money and get it on the PlayStation 4, what am I going to do? If I'm just generic Joe Schmo consumer walking into the store, sure, Sony fanboys will wait. Sure, people who aggressively read and want to choose the absolute best system. But I think that you're going to find that is going to sway quite a bit. If Microsoft can get this system out a month or two ahead, those games that are cross-gen releases, even Watch Dogs, for instance, if Watch Dogs comes out for 360, PS3, and 720 before PlayStation 4, why would anyone buy it on PlayStation 4? The Wii U saw incredibly low sales of these games that people were like, oh no, Ghost, it's great that they're coming out. And yeah, I guess if you're waiting specifically for that, it's great. But Batman Arkham City, Darksiders 2, Ninja Gaiden 3, all these re-releases on Wii U, none of them really did well. And as you can see, Nintendo is now just floundering for what to do for games and what to do for money because there's no sell-through with software. The Xbox 360 had the best software attachment rate last gen in terms of how many games people buy with the system. And I think you'll see a similar thing because an extra $80, an extra $100 saved on the hardware console itself is an extra game or two that you can then buy that you wouldn't otherwise be paying for. I don't think there's going to be any weird, crazy features. I don't think there's going to be any virtual reality or any head tracking, besides Kinect. Anything mind-blowing, any touch thing on the controller. I think you're going to get a very gamer's console that has an emphasis on social and casual and living room features. Like I said, expect a lot of apps, heavy emphasis on the Netflix, the internet, the Facebook, the Twitter, the social network of Xbox Live, the TV, cable, whatever they end up going with that. And so I think that the initial reveal will focus on that, and then E3 will come the games. I personally am not one bit more excited for PlayStation 4 or 720. I'm equally excited because the thing that matters most to me is games, and frankly, that's what should matter most to you. Whether you're a Sony fanboy, a Microsoft fanboy, or you just don't care, the games are what you're going to be playing. Buying a box to have it sit there, you have a device in your home already, most likely, that can do everything this thing will do. You have a device that can watch videos. You have a device that can go on the internet. You have a device that you can talk to your friends. You have a device that you can watch Netflix. You have a device, I mean, so really, where I would gear your mind towards is what games are going to be announced between now and launch of these consoles. And we, frankly, know hardly any. We don't even know much of what's coming out for the current generation after April, May. It's pretty barren. So expect E3 to have a ton of reveals. It's going to be a blast. I cannot wait to go and be there. I'm scheduled to go. It should be a huge fun time. I'm hoping that they have playable demos of both new systems. It will be a blast to report on for you guys and to check out myself. Hope that this gave you some insight. I'd like to know what you guys think the 720 will have inside of it and what features Microsoft will emphasize. I plan on doing more videos like this in the coming months as we get closer and closer to E3 and eventually closer and closer to the launches, but this is just sort of my overview thoughts on the 720 and what Microsoft will be targeting. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, add your favorites. It does help out a ton. Till next time, guys and girls, let me know what you think in the comments below. Drink some hot chocolate, and we'll see you all later.